Look at these asparagus kicking up here.
No, you know, we got out here and we cut some so we could have
So
some
can you
for
still
food.
eat this, or is it too late?
No, it's you'd eat it like at this stage. See?
Oh, really? Okay, so you gotta cut them. So these are ready then.
Look at the purple one. It is,
Damn,
I
that's
mean,
that's
I
thick.
mean, if these were like twins, this one's stealing all the food.
So this building, if you remember, you were always thinking of turning it into a chicken coop.
Right, which is
Well,
a dove coop right now.
Which your doves are in there now, these tiny little doves. It's heated, insulated, concrete floor, no water, things like that. No electric yet. But we realized it's a little too nice for the chickens. Like if you let chickens go wild in there, it would just destroy the place.
Right.
So we ended up deciding, let's turn this into a cabin where someone can stay.
It's 15 by 15.
Yeah, it's a small place, but it's perfect. It has the best view on the property, I would say, because you could see the hills and everything. You got the orchard and then the hills and everything. But we decided no chickens in here because they'll make a mess. So where do we put the chickens then? So we decided let's build a separate chicken coop for them. So the idea that you had in mind was having a chicken coop, having doves, these kind of doves here in a heated section. Chickens obviously outside in the cold, they don't care. And then maybe even attaching kind of a cabin or some kind of an office to it so you could do some work and you can hang out with the chickens basically. Or if you had like a cabin, you can kind of stay with the chickens for a night or whatever. Ducks were in there too, but we decided let's separate the ducks out because they all, like, it's better to have the ducks in a separate structure. And then we started to look for a new place for the coop to build it. And we have this field back here. The deer fence used to run right through here. You could see these trees that are kind of lined up is where the fence was. You can see some holes here where fence posts used to be. And last winter, we moved the fence into the forest further to include more of this forested area within our deer fence so we can grow all kinds of cool stuff in there without the deer damaging it. And this field back here is, I would say it's a perfect place for chickens because they have access to a field, they have access to forest, and this is where we're thinking of putting it. And I could see my roof actually collapsed. This is a temporary structure that I built, but imagine this beam is up there. This is kind of the size of it. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to take these are boards that the previous owner's garden beds were made of. So we took the garden beds apart. And I was like, well, this lumber's about to go, but it's still good enough to like build rough structures with it. You can see it's all rotten and everything. But this gives us a really good idea of the size of this coop and also the length and the perspective of it in the landscape.
Yeah, because when we actually set it in, it felt too skinny.
Yeah, so initially we were 9 feet wide with this coop. And when we actually laid it out, you realize that it would be ridiculous. It would be like a little hallway compared to like this massive area that you have here. So we ended up increasing the size to 12 feet wide. And then the whole coop, I believe, is 30 feet wide. So you have 2 sections. One section here is going to be the run, which is about 200 square feet. And then from here on out, this just happened to be the correct measurement. It'll be an 8 by 12 will be the actual coop. And I think you're gonna want to.
9 by 12, right?
Could be 8 or 9.
Okay.
You wanted that. It's gonna be 100 square feet inside. So you have 100 square feet as a coop and 200 square feet as a run. And this part will be insulated but not heated. So it will regulate the temperature a little better during the day. But yeah, this is kind of the idea of what we plan to build. And a huge inspiration to us was a company in North Carolina called Carolina Coops.
Which has a YouTube channel.
They have a YouTube channel. They've been picking up recently. They're making a lot more videos, which is really cool. And they're really not shy about sharing how they built their chicken coops. And they've been building coops for years, and they've been perfecting it. And they used to come from the Finger Lakes. So they've been perfecting building chicken coops. So we're taking a lot of clues from how they do things, and we're basically adopting it to our climate here, which the coop they built is pretty much adopted because they've they've come from this area, but we're building it in a really strong way so that this thing will last and is strong enough. So right now we're just planning to build the chicken coop part, and then later in time, when we have more funding, when we have more time, we can attach a cabin behind it. And that's what this area is for. So the coop is shoved to the front a little bit so that there's space behind it here for a building that's potentially like 18 by 18. So it's not too big, but you can imagine that this wall will become an interior wall where you can get into the coop, and then there will be a door on the outside to get into the run. You can see this machine here. We are gonna prepare the ground to make sure that we're ready to build that. You can see there's a slight slope here. There's about a 2 to 4 feet drop all the way from that end all the way to this end. So the idea is to take this little hill that you see in the distance and push that over here and level it out, and potentially also bring in some more soil to help build this up a little bit. This area gets really wet, like the soil is kind of muck. So it's not great to build on, but if we're hoping that little hill there has some stone in it, and hopefully we can make a better foundation for this area here. But yeah, essentially the idea is to drop posts in the ground 4 feet and then put big headers across those posts. And then that will support everything. That will support the roof, and that will be the main structure of it. And then on the inside of the coop part, we'll pour concrete so that there's no predators that can get in. And there will be a predator guard around the whole thing, around the whole perimeter.
Around the run, and yeah.
To prevent predators from digging. And this is where, you know, a lot of the tips from Carolina Coops comes in, because they have years of experience with that. And there's different ways to do it. You could bury the fence, but then it might rust. So what they do is they just lay it out on the ground, a couple feet out. And, you know, a predator is not smart enough to start digging here in order to get into the coop. They always dig close to the edge of the building. So for the run, on the ground, we're not doing any concrete or stone because the chickens' feet are not really happy with that. We're just putting a pressure-treated beam down on the ground, and that should be enough for a long time. And we build it in a modular way, so we can always change out parts. So once we have this structure and we have these posts up, in between the posts, we can start building frames, basically like picture frames with hardware cloth in it, that will protect the sides from predators getting in and from the chickens getting out. So the hardware cloth is basically gonna get sandwiched between two 2x4s, and they're gonna be modular panels. So they're all the same size, so we could swap them out, or we could take one out and put a door in that part of the frame. And then that way, it's hopefully easy to maintain. Carolina Coops builds a lot of their coops out of a product called Acre, which is like a composite kind of material. It's very expensive. So what we've decided to do is just make it out of wood, and just keep up with staining it and take good care of it. And hopefully that will last. I mean, there's barns with board and batten in this area that have lasted for, you know, almost 100 years with just wood.
I don't know if they're predator proofed, but yeah, I mean, they're lasting. As long as you have a good roof. As
long as we got a good roof on it and it's dry. I made the overhang 16 inches. I think usually people do 12, but we'll keep this area, you know, and we have a lot of rain in this area, but it's actually less than 40% of the time it rains here. So that's not necessarily enough to cause too many rot or problems with like structures. So it's gonna be pretty dry. And yeah, this is a great place for it because we have this giant oak tree here that's like right behind it. And we are concerned a little bit about the roots of this thing.
We did pull it.
And that's why we pulled it forward a little bit to make sure we won't hit the roots of this thing and it has room to grow. You know, you've seen those sidewalks in New York where the roots are cracking the concrete. Like, we don't want that to happen here, but our friend Matt is gonna build this and prepare this with his excavator. He's gonna put in a utility trench for power and water. And as he's doing that, we're gonna work in the barn and sort of prefabricate the roof trusses and the side panels so that by the time he's done doing this, we can, you know, take those parts and just install them here. And in the barn, it's nice, we can work outside the rain. We can cut everything the same size by making jigs. And we can stain it all in there too. The pressure treated wood is still wet, so we can't really stain it yet. So we'll have to wait till that properly dries. But once there's a roof on here, that will have a lot of time to dry. And then once it's dry, we can stain it. So then it will match the color for the rest of the building. But that's the idea. So as we build this, we'll update you of how much it cost us, and that way you get a good idea of how much it would take to build a coop like this. And obviously we're gonna try to save as much money as we can by doing a lot of the labor ourselves, but there are things that are easier to just source out, like the earthwork. In order for me to learn how to use this, it's gonna take a long time.
Or to rent it.
Or to rent it. And Matt, our friend, he's super skilled with it, so he can knock this out in a couple days, so, and he knows what he's doing, so.
Very good. Thank you so much, Sander. We'll keep you updated on all of the chicken chat later. So we'll document this as we go.